Every time the sun dies, time stretches and tears.
Scan for Soltari signals.
Signal corrupted. Approximating.
Is that the thing from the ridge?
Confirmed.
You better stay out of my way.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Gregory Loudon, Creative Director at Housemarque. Today we are thrilled to show off this first look of gameplay for Saros running on PS5. Saros builds on Returnal's award-winning action and tells the emotional and haunting story of Arjun Devraj's drive for answers on the shape-shifting planet of Carcosa. Here we show off one of our exciting combat features, the Soltari Shield. By holding R1, you can defend yourself and absorb projectiles. By absorbing projectiles, you can now hit back hard using your power weapon. By holding the adaptive trigger on L2, you'll be able to destroy enemies using Eclipse-driven weaponry. Here is a Soltari hololog, where you can learn more about lost Carcosa.
I'll try. Get.
Me. I will fight
No.
you. I will find you. I promise.
This is Second Chance, where you can be revived on first death to get straight back into the action. Second Chance is part of our permanent progression systems, which means you will always come back stronger.
No sé qué pasa.
The sun is forever.
El sol es para siempre.
We hope you loved that first look at gameplay. We're looking forward to revealing more on our PCs in the coming months.
No entiendo.
year is when you'll be able to.
Qué porquería.
Thanks for watching. We can't wait to share more from all of the team working on Saros.
Saros. Está demasiado lento. Sí. Ese aquí me prepara.
You actually want to deploy her?
Cascade is one of my most highly trained operants.
She's been shelved for 5 years. The parties marked her as a failure.
She won't have to do it alone. Her old squad is still out there.
I thought they'd all been ripped to shreds.
Probably. But she can scrape what's left of them back together. Lead them to their deaths all over again.
And what if she butchers it like last time?
We'll do what we always do. Throw more assets at the problem. We have plenty more.
I guess. She's a pathetic, fragile embarrassment. And her methods are so unhinged.
But they get results, no?
Missiles get results.
Show a little faith. We're at the end of history. Everything that could go wrong already has.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. Va a llegar a PlayStation. Estos juegos de demo están llegando a PlayStation.
Stand by for re-attack call.
Light him up! We gotta move! Woo! Hold on!
MK will pay for this.
We don't know how high it goes.
You trying to start a war with the CIA?
That is not the fucking question!
This is it. I know what I gotta do.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean Benson.
And I'm Sid Schumann. Sean and I are back to share news and release dates for games coming to PS5.
But first, thanks to EA and Battlefield Studios for that new look at the single-player campaign for Battlefield 6. It launches October 10th on PS5.
Now, let's celebrate one of my favorite games of all time, which is marking its 25th anniversary this year. Deus Ex returns. This PS5 remaster is a collaboration between Eidos Montreal and Aspyr, the studio behind remastered classics like Tomb Raider and Soul Reaver.
On its way back to the people. And you can't do a damn thing about it.
You play as JC Denton,
Don't tell me you're going to wear your
an augmented operative working to uncover the truth.
Vision is augmented.
This new version adds enhanced visuals, overhauled controls, and support for key PS5 features like haptic feedback. Deus Ex influenced a generation of RPGs with its emphasis on choice and consequence. No two playthroughs unfold the same. Deus Ex Remastered arrives on PS5 early next year.
PlayStation 5.
It's almost Halloween, and you know what they say, everyone's entitled to one good scare. Death comes to Haddonfield in Halloween the Game, a tribute to the John Carpenter classic. The team at IllFonic invites players to an asymmetrical horror sandbox where you can play as a civilian survivor or Michael Myers himself. In each game, it's up to you as survivors to save these hapless townfolk or to hunt them down as Michael Myers. He possesses unique abilities like shape jump, allowing him to move around the map unseen and pop out where you'd least expect him. Playing as a civilian, it's up to you to lead townsfolk to safety, find a phone, and call the police for help. Civilians can also scavenge for gear and weapons to help them survive when they inevitably cross paths with the unstoppable Michael Myers. Become the boogeyman or protect his victims when Halloween the Game launches on September 8th, 2026.
Two big announcements from 11th Hour Games. First, their hit action RPG Last Epoch is in development for PS5. This celebrated dungeon crawler is known for its extensive skill customization, deep and rewarding loot system, and a massive time-traveling world. You'll battle through the past, taking down gods and toppling cursed empires to save the world from its ruined future. As for that second announcement,
No lo hagas, queso. Regresé a YouTube después de ya mucho tiempo. No había transmitido, no he jugado casi.
Last Epoch's first major expansion, Orobis, will arrive at the same time as the upcoming PS5 release.
No se escucha. ¿En serio? ¿Cómo no se escucha?
The Seven Deadly Sins Origin is an
Hola.
open-world RPG based on the beloved
Déjame
Japanese
bajarle el
series.
volumen a esto. Hola. Ahí se debe escuchar ya. A mí me sale que sí se escucha, quesito. Déjame revisar para ver.
Capture creatures, go fishing, cook your own meals, mine resources, and craft new items as you explore Britannia. Or step beyond the open world to tackle
Ahí ya se escucha. ¿Cuál es ese? Tekken Dangerous.
in a multiverse that transcends time and space. Original heroes join forces with beloved characters from the series to embark on a grand adventure.
Parece un Pokémon.
Venture out alone.
7 pecados capitales. El origen. Orígenes.
January 28th.
Two iconic characters finally meet in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, launching on PS5 tomorrow.
Sonic Racing. Mira, Mega Man B.
Man and his trusty vehicle, the Rush Roadster, join the lineup.
Ese,
Mega Man DLC pack that arrives early next year.
ese jueguito está
But they're not alone.
está vendiendo ese Sony.
Also included is a stunning reimagining of Dr. Wily's castle from the Mega Man series.
Como un Mario Kart.
Sounds will take players back to some of Mega Man's most memorable adventures. The Mega Man DLC pack comes to PS5 next year as part of the season pass Deluxe Edition. The early unlock period is already underway, so Digital Deluxe Edition owners can get into Sonic Racing Cross.
Todavía no han mostrado un juego así que valga la pena.
Up next, two
Puro juego así como para el quesito. Como para el coque. Estos juegos me gustan. Genji. No. ¿Ese juego cuál es? Ah, eso es como un Samurai Warrior, no. Kakir. Es como un Samurai Warrior, me parece. Ah, no. Onimusha. Onimusha, queso. No, no es Onimusha. Parece. Wow, se ve espectacular, marica. Ah, Neo 3, uy, puta. Esos juegos son bacanos. Verga. El 2026. Todos esos juegos que están anunciando están para el 2026. Un saludo para Coque. Allá en San Pues, un saludo para Juan Hernández. En Sala de Videojuegos San Pues. Este sí es un Samurai Warrior de eso. La resolución está muy bajita. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Debe ser por eso que está lento el computador. Voy a ponerlo a 1080p para que no. Esos juegos a mí no me... Destiny Warriors remasterizado, la edición completa. El juego tiene su público, marica. Tiene su público. 19 de marzo del 2026. El Humberto Quintana en Mega Man. Sí, puta, sí jugaba esos juegos y los jugaba bien jugado. Y el Chavo también. ¿Ese cuál es? Puro juego estilo de esos japoneses, marica. Bandai Namco. Estos juegos son bacanos, marica. Sí, eso no quedó con Humberto, pero son buenos, marica. La vaina es que eso no es para todo el mundo. Let's go. Es un Devil May Cry. Dark Souls. Code Vein. No sé. Este juego así. He visto varios así, pero así como este, así con esa armadura y con eso. Ah, sí, ¿qué es eso? Code Vein 2, mira, ve. Verga. Final Fantasy Tactics. Kazutoyo Mairo. Final Fantasy Tactics en PlayStation. Van a remasterizar el Final Fantasy Tactics. Esos Final Fantasy no me gustan. También tienen su gente, marica. Esos juegos como jugar ajedrez, marica. ¿Viste? Vamos a remasterizarlo. Ah, no. The Valley's Chronicle. 30 de septiembre de este año. Sí, el remaster de la Sociedad ya salió hace rato. Uncle Dead and Shin Hideyuki. Esa monda que eso que es un Battle Royale. Como multijugador. Tienes que lootear, mira, ¿ves? Let It Die Inferno. 3 de diciembre. This works. Simpson. Juego indie. No, ahora con el Silson ese se ponen de moda los indies, eso, así. Estilo Metroidvania. Verga. Chronoscript and the Endless End 2026. Un juego de exploración en 2D. Son como unos libros, hay que ir y con una tinta. Estilo quesito. Están pidiendo que salga Wolverine 2026. Coming to PlayStation 5. Pero a ver. Se ve interesante. Hay gente que hace juegos así, no. Jugué mucho en su época de ese tipo de juegos así, Metroidvania. Sí. Inferno. Pues eso se ve como chévere, ¿eh? Peor es nada. Ay, puta, qué bacano. Me recuerda a Drakengard. Crimson Desert. Ah, y este juego. Esos juegos son buenos. Creo que esos juegos Crimson Desert. Uy, se ve bueno, marica. Se parece a Drakengard. Drakengard, esos juegos son una belleza. Esa mondad que es. No para adelante. Jajasala. Para tener un audio mejor sin audífono, ¿qué? Vaya la mierda. ¡Asala! Mira, ¿ve? Mire, tienen el PC ahí, marica. Ya las consolas, marica, se van ahí a la mierda las consolas. ¿Qué es eso? ¡Qué bacán! Esas maricas van a vender, marica. ¡Achala! ¿Y esa monda para qué? Unos parlantes inalámbricos. Trae un vasito que es eso. Global Content Communication. Marica, las cosas buenas siempre las dejan para lo último. ¡Ay! Van a poner Alan Wake 2 en el PlayStation Plus. ¡Qué bien! Lo demás vale mundá, pero Alan Wake 2, marica. Ese sí está bueno, marica. The Last of Day. ¿Ese cuál es? A ver qué aquí me llama.
Update to the PlayStation Plus Classics catalog is extra exciting for fans of fighting games and the number 3. Tekken 3 from the original PlayStation and Soul Calibur 3 from the PS2 are coming to the service later this year.
Also arriving this year, another all-time classic from the PS2, Tomb Raider Anniversary. And up next, a special special message from the creator behind one of PlayStation's most iconic franchises.
Konnichiwa. グランツーリスモシリーズプロデューサー山内和則です。本日はですね、皆さんにすごく素敵なアップデートをお伝えできることを大変嬉しく思います。この2025年の6月25日に、なんとグランツーリスモの、累計売上本数が1億本を超えたそうです。1億本です。この1億本を超えるってすごいことだなって、作ってる僕らも思うんですけれども、この1億本を、超えたことを記念して、この年末にですね、僕らはグランツーリスモ7のスペック3のアップデートを行う予定です。スペック3のアップデートには、2つの、レーストラック、フォーミュラ1でも使われているトラックであるとか、あるいは8台の新しい車であるとか、新しいサーキットエクスペリエンス、あるいはデータロガーのフィーチャー、それ以外のさまざまなゲームフィーチャーの大きなアップデートを予定しています。皆さんのおかげで、30年かけてグランツーリスモは1億本を達成しました。本当にありがとうございます。
Fighting longer than I can remember. I'd like to say I'm not a violent man. The trouble just has a way of finding me. But I'd be lying. Doesn't matter where I go. How far I run. That's always waiting. It's not for me. Cause I ain't no hero. I'm Wolverine.
The question that comes up a lot to us at Insomniac Games is, are you going to make a Wolverine game that is as violent, as visceral as the character in the comics? Working with Wolverine is interesting because part of the route to who he is that he's an unreliable narrator. He has gaps in his memory. So Wolverine doesn't really remember a lot of his life, and that's got to be an extremely frustrating aspect.
He's this ball of rage and fury, but then he could turn on a dime, and he could be very, very kind and tender in the next moment.
When we're casting for someone like Logan, what we're looking for in character traits are someone who can convey a lot with very little being spoken.
When you have that first moment that we show in gameplay, there's
There's so much emotion that you can feel behind his eyes. He looks relentless, he looks gritty, he looks angry, but also he looks maybe a little sad.
That level of acting and being able to just deliver that performance with believability across both spectrums was something Insomniac, ourselves, we all agreed he's the one. We don't need to see anybody else.
Hey, I'm Lee McIntyre, and I play James Logan Howlett in Marvel's Wolverine. That's not bad. That one sort of works. Fans out there know what Wolverine is, who he is. My job is to try and find the essence of who Wolverine is, especially as it applies to our story. People hurt him, people take from him, people betray him. He still fights for people who can't fight for themselves. It's one of the greatest honors of my life, one of the biggest responsibilities I've ever had, and one of the coolest things I've ever got to do.
The entire game is built around staying true to the Wolverine experience.
And then how do we want to put our Insomniac stamp on that? How do we want to put our own spin and creativity, but still give something new and fresh that fans are going to be excited about?
It's the full package. It is a level of detail that we've never been able to do before.
You could see it in the trailer. You can see pores. You can see blood in between the little lines of his teeth. I love the attention to detail.
It's exciting that we're going to be able to bring that kind of fidelity to players.
Wolverine is a character who goes to many places through the comics.
You'll see the Canadian wilderness, you'll see Japan.
There's a shot where Logan is sliding down that rooftop and you can see the breadth of Madripoor and Lowtown.
It's always nice teasing the depth and the amount of characters that we'll be seeing in the game. Omega Red makes an appearance, Mystique is there, and there are some hints to other characters that fans of Wolverine will recognize for sure.
Another visual element of Marvel's Wolverine is the blood. The blood tech that was put into this game is pretty phenomenal.
There's a part in the trailer where Logan jumps down and then he does the claws up through the face. That one I thought maybe was going to be taking it too far, but I am so glad that we have it. It looks fantastic.
Wolverine's combat, making that special, making that feel like him, making it feel different to anything else you played, that's a tough job. What's so cool for me is there was this one section of the game I got to try. It was just visceral, immediate, and so incredibly satisfying. I was like, this is gonna be amazing.
Wolverine se ve espectacular.
It's dynamic, it's rough-edged.
You notice it doesn't look like our past games. It has that sense of urgency and forward movement and rage and fury, and that's
one of the cool things about Insomniac is they are probably the most collaborative group of people I've ever worked with. They make you feel part of their team. That's not something you always get.
We've been in a creative collaboration with Insomniac Games and PlayStation for over a decade now. We've made some of the greatest superhero games of all time, and that was always the goal, making games that are timeless.
I think fans are going to be excited, but I'm also really excited about it because I'm really proud of what we made. We are focused on making the best Wolverine game ever.
On behalf of everyone at Insomniac Games and the Wolverine team,
Insomniac Games.
we want to thank you for taking time to watch our trailer. We can't wait to show you more in spring of 2026.
2026. Bueno, ya mostraron uno grande. Ya, se acabó esta verga. Iban a dejar Wolverine para el final. Voy a eliminar el Alan Wake del Xbox Series X y lo voy a jugar en el Play, marica. Está escribiendo mi amigo Miguel. Se acabó esta mierda. Lo único bueno que mostramos. Háblalo, cuéntame.
¿Todo bien?
Bien, bien.
¿Qué, jugamos?
Ah, bueno, ¿a qué hora?
Ahorita, en 10 minutos.
Pero tengo que salir.
¿Y regresa dentro de cuánto?
Tengo que salir a buscar a Lía, pero no sé.